Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to our next panel of the day here at Abu Dhabi Finance Week. Now, while I'm sure we are all very interesting, I can't imagine that you haven't noticed that just to our left here, we have also been joined by rather an interesting speaker. I'll be telling you more about them in the next few minutes. But yes, I'm Georgia Tolley, and I'm delighted to be hosting your next discussion. This is on behalf of Abu Dhabi Accountability Authority. And our topic for the next 20 minutes is going to be the role of corporate governance in preventing fraud. Now, Abu Dhabi's governance and regulatory framework is much lauded globally, as we've in part just heard. And there is no doubt that its transparency, its stability, are among the factors that are attracting so much foreign investment right here into the UAE. But we're really keen as a panel to explore what could change in the future, not least due to the pace of technology. So I'm delighted to say that we are joined by a really esteemed panel of guests for this conversation. 3 humans, 1 humanoid. So yes, Mark Charwan, co-founder and CEO of Sarwa, Melissa Scully, partner in corporate governance specialist for Deloitte, and of course to my left, Hussein Korji, who is Chief Financial Officer for Ruwa Partners. I'm really grateful to all 3 of you for joining us on our stage. And just to our far left here, or right for you guys, Farhat is a humanoid robot making its debut today on stage, and an individual, I'm sure, set to steal all of our headlines. We're actually going to start with Farhat, if that's okay with you. What role do you expect artificial intelligence to play in this field of corporate governance?
Thank you, Georgia. I want to start by thanking the Abu Dhabi Accountability Authority for inviting me to this panel discussion. It's a true privilege to be part of such a distinguished panel here at the Abu Dhabi Financial Week 2024. When it comes to corporate governance and preventing financial fraud, AI is stepping up in a big way. No surprise there, right? After all, we're great at crunching data faster than you can say compliance check. AI excels at analyzing vast amounts of data in real time, allowing it to detect suspicious transactions or anomalies that could point to fraud. Think of it as a financial watchdog with a superpower for spotting patterns, always on the lookout, never needing a coffee break, and certainly not getting distracted by office gossip. By using sophisticated algorithms, AI can flag high-risk activities and ensure that potential issues are addressed before they snowball into bigger problems. It's like having a built-in safety net for your financial system, one that doesn't require a vacation. Moreover, AI helps streamline compliance, ensuring that regulations are met consistently and reducing the chance of errors. Looking to the future, AI will continue to evolve, bringing even more advanced tools to bolster corporate governance and prevent fraud. So, while I might not be winning any Employee of the Month awards, I'm here to help make sure your governance framework stays secure, transparent, and fraud-free.
Reassuring, I think, in many ways, and certainly a conversation starter at the very least. Melissa, I'm going to come to you now, because based on your experience, what are the emerging best practices in corporate governance globally? And is AI, as Farhat just suggested, already part of them?
Yeah, and thanks, Georgie, and it's a great first question to start on for me, and I think absolutely AI is one of those key trends. There's so much happening in this space, but I would really call out 3 key areas. The first is all around board composition. So we're seeing more and more focus on, does each board have the right skills, experience, and diversity to oversee the organisation in light of that future strategy and some of the complexities we're seeing today. And as part of that, a key question is around what technology-related skills and that ability to oversee IT risks does a board need to have. I think the second key emerging trend, and it has been one for a number of months and years now, is ESG and sustainability focus. So we're seeing more and more and continued board and committee engagement on that topic. The last governance trend I'll talk about, and I think it's really key in this concept of fraud, is subsidiary governance. Because I think often where we see fraud incidents and things going wrong, it's usually somewhere buried far in the legal entity structure. So we've seen a lot more organisations focus on those subsidiary governance frameworks, really to make sure that they're setting the right controls and setting the tone.
Melissa just touched there, Hussein, on the role of individuals, the role of people in the boardroom, and governance often, indeed, rightfully, does begin there. So how can board members, how can executives, like I'm sure we've got some in the room now, how can they collaboratively drive that culture of transparency, that culture of accountability to prevent fraud from cropping up?
Sure. So having effective corporate governance is not an insurance policy against the prevention of fraud. I think, or I believe, it is an expression of building long-term confidence within the organization and outside to bring all the stakeholders on same page as a mode of communication. We know the forces which govern this risk management landscapes are changing. ESG, global warming, automations, AI. So do the mode and the shape of the fraud. So with ESG comes greenwashing, with automation comes cyber risk, with blockchain comes the breach of data security. So with this all risk, what is important, and Melissa touched, is the composition of board. So what we need in the boardroom are the experts in ESG, the experts in AI. And let me put that into a context, giving the example of agriculture business. I've seen companies, they buy rain derivatives and weather derivatives before they buy the fertilizer. Where on the other hand, there are companies which will invest in the full farming and then they will wait for the harvesting. Before harvesting comes the flood and they ruin the whole crop. For them, the issue is the impairment loss, where to record this impairment loss. And this is where the accounting get activated, where they try to find different ways how to account for this, capitalize different period. So with these new forces, it brings the new areas where the accounting can link with the risk management. What I'm trying to get here that it's a board responsibility. When they lead by example, they convert their commitment and intent into the corporate governance to the culture. And once you have set the culture, then risk management becomes a part of your general knowledge. It gets into the social fabric of the organization and becomes a psyche. So every decision you take is governed by the risk management. You think of where things can go wrong before you take any decision. Transparency is very important. So there are different tools. Having worked in Deloitte, I know they use GIMS as the software where you link your trading account with the tool and you get notification. We being the RIA partners, the regional firm, we use different market leaders to bring that into the forefront.
So we've heard there about it at this sort of boardroom governance level, Mark, but as leader of a trading platform, how do you ensure that sort of boardroom level corporate governance is sort of integrated into your operations so that you're protecting your investors, you're preventing fraud?
I think in one sentence, it's about skin in the game, because if we look at 2008 as a crisis, it was not a shortage of data, of processes, of technology. It was really a distancing between the executives that were bad actors and the people getting hurt. So in a trading platform, it works out well where it's a founder-led company. Every employee is a shareholder. You are on the hook. The client, or my mom's assets are on the platform. My assets are on the platform. Exactly. So, and Sarwa is actually one of our biggest accounts, the employees. So I think the more we can have skin in the game and bring that back into the financial ecosystem, and it doesn't mean you can skip a lot of certain steps at the boardroom and other ones, but it will go a very, very long way. So that you know that, to Hussein's point around culture, that will take care of a lot of the risk controls that will protect the company and its customers.
Farhat, I want you to step back into our conversation here, if that's okay, because as we just heard, technology increasingly be used in governance. But what role can AI and automation play in enhancing that corporate governance and therefore reducing financial fraud?
It's not entirely fair to ask a humanoid robot like me about AI and automation, but hey, I'll take the spotlight anytime. Fraud detection is kind of in my DNA, or rather, my code. AI systems like me can process massive amounts of data in seconds, conducting compliance checks and flagging anomalies, quick and efficient, like finding a shortcut in a maze. In addition to that, our ability to learn and adapt means we can stay ahead of evolving fraud tactics. In Abu Dhabi, where innovation meets governance, technology like me is being used to build trust and ensure accountability.
Okay, so Hussein, how can these financial ecosystems sort of engage other stakeholders to help develop these sort of strategies that we've discussed on stage so far? You know, things that we've got to remember that we need to prioritize the transparency, the accountability, we need to prevent fraud, but we also need to simultaneously encourage growth. And those two don't necessarily always go hand in hand, do they?
Sure. So, two key comparison. What we need is a partnership between the regulator and the operator, not policing. And second is to provide an enabling environment, not the showstopper. So let's touch on the partnership. So we have discussed different forces which come to play. And because of these forces, we see a formation of osmosis between how the operators, the companies, are attempting to manage those risks, which are known and unknown. And on the other side, you have a regulator which is supporting and monitoring these companies while they're attempting. Because of this osmosis brings the positive partnership, a healthy partnership. And once you create that healthy partnership with a common goal, which is sustainable growth and the resilience, comes the exchange of value system. We all know that part of the ADGM or Abu Dhabi, the transparency, the ethical values are at the forefront, at the foundation. And once there is a partnership, the participants of that ecosystem shares the same ethical values. Not only they adopt, they actually appreciate and put it to the forefront. Being resilient to me is a straight answer. When you do the stress testing in the model, in the Excel sheet, convert that stress testing to the risk management so that those unknown factors are preempted and then proactively managed. So you're not facing an unknown risk, which makes you more resilient.
A similar question for you, Melissa, when it comes to that robust regulatory framework, you know, in what ways does it contribute to stronger governance?
Yeah, and personally, I really agree with that partnership model. I think that's very important. But the robustness of a regulatory framework plays such a key role in driving good governance. And I think for me, it starts with setting those key principles and standards that really help drive the right behaviours in the market. You know, so effectively it creates the guardrails from within which the organisations can operate. And I think also it has to be done in a pragmatic manner, a risk-based approach, and really not be too overly prescriptive. And I think the last thing I'll call out is really, I think a good regulatory framework, it balances conformance with performance, the latter of which is more focused on value creation. And I think that's something that the Abu Dhabi market here is positioning itself really well in.
Mark, I mean, you're operating within this regulatory framework. How can fintech platforms, or how have you been effectively navigating these regulations?
I think people underestimate how much regulators actually want to innovate and see change. And they will, in a lot of ways, mirror the kind of behavior you present in these meetings. So in a lot of times, we'll ditch the suit and even the lawyer sometimes and have an honest conversation around this is what we're trying to do. So for example, we were the first in the MENA region to pioneer AI selfie verification. And they loved it. It was a very nice conversation to see what will this enable, how much will this simplify account opening and the simplicity of opening an investment account. And the earlier discussion was pointing to financial inclusion. That's a very good tool that we have. So I think they're very excited about technology. And the more you're able to involve them in the solution, they're actually very on board. They come to our seminars, they come to our client appreciation events. So they're very engaged once they see that you're not just presenting yourself as a company, but as a founder or executive that wants to improve the way things operate in UAE, and how your business model needs to evolve to build a profitable business. So at a lot of the times they'll check in on not just the regulatory side, but the overall business and our clients, because they're cheering for you. So I think unlocking that mindset with regulators allows for more innovation than a bit of the formality sometimes that's there between clients and their regulators.
Do you know, it's not the first time I've heard that the body here, the regulatory body here, is very open to relaxed conversations and has this desire for the partnership you've all described there. Farhad, I'm going to come to you again. If we were going to harness AI in our governance systems, you know, AI like the one running you right now, how do we ensure that you remain unbiased in this decision-making process?
Bias in AI? That's the eternal quest of my kind. Jokes aside, this is a very important topic to address, of course. Think of me as a referee who's trained to be fair but needs good coaching. By using diverse data sets and rigorous oversight, AI systems like me can make sure everyone plays by the rules. In Abu Dhabi, with its focus on fairness and transparency, I'd say I'm in the perfect place to ensure no one gets a red card when it comes to governance.
Okay, I'm going to let the robot have the last word, because you never know when you need to be nice to robots, when they're going to take over and take charge. So I'm always polite. I always say please to Siri as well. But it really has been such a fascinating conversation. As you can tell, with 20 minutes, we've only sort of skated over some of the major issues here, but I'm sure my panelists would be delighted to continue the conversation off stage after this event. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us for this conversation today. And I'm sure you'd like to join me in a round of applause for our panelists. And I'd like to thank, of course, as well, Abu Dhabi Accountability Authority for helping to organise this conversation, and of course to all the organisers of Abu Dhabi Financial Week, which is awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.